Welcome to today's Prosper Remix live session. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is Brian Anderson, and I'm conference producer for Emerald's Prosper Show. I will be your moderator for today's live session, Conquer Amazon Search 3 SEO Tactics That Deliver, sponsored by Semrush. Today's session will go until 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 hour. That includes time for Q&A. Our remix title sponsor is Semrush, whom I would like to thank for partnering with us to provide access to the best Amazon seller education in the industry. This is the first of a series of 6 live sessions that will take place today and tomorrow. Remix is where we expand upon the hottest topics. Presenters are either the best speakers from Prosper Show or on those topics, or comparable experts or masters of those topics. You may watch this session from you may watch all the sessions from the in-person Prosper Show that were recorded last month, and they will be available and added this week on a rolling basis. Before I introduce our presenters, let me take a moment to explain how this platform works. The audio for this event is broadcast over the internet. Make sure your computer or device's audio is available, unmuted, and the volume is turned up to an acceptable level. If you're having trouble with receiving the audio, please select the question mark in the upper corner of the Global Meet interface and select Test My System Now. This will give you information on your connection and how to remedy any problems you may be having. Often, simply just disconnecting and rejoining the event will allow you to catch a better stream of the audio if you're experiencing any audio problems. You will be on mute for the duration of this call, but you may submit questions throughout or at the end during the Q&A session. If you have a question, you can submit it by typing into the box labeled Ask a Question on the left side of your screen. Your questions will be queued up, and I will present as many of them as I can to the presenters at the end of this presentation. Questions related to technical issues can also be entered in this box as well and will be answered by our webcast producers. A recording of this session will be available this afternoon and until November 18th. You may also access the slide deck through this portal. We will send you a link via email so you can share it with your colleagues if they want to register or attend. It is my pleasure now to introduce your presenters this morning, Robin Johnson and Jacob Grau. Robin has over a decade of experience selling on Amazon, eBay, and other e-commerce venues. Starting with only $100 taken from their emergency fund, she built a 7-figure business selling on Amazon and eBay in just a few short years. In the years since then, Robin has not only continued to sell directly on Amazon, but also to build a consulting and coaching business working with the most successful resellers in the space. She now works with companies from startup to up to 50 million in sales on Amazon annually. Robin is a regular contributor for Search Engine Journal, a professor for the Semrush Academy, and speaks at some of the most prestigious Amazon and e-commerce conferences in the US and abroad. She has written a best-selling book called on Amazon called The Unlikely Entrepreneur, about her journey starting her business. Robin has been a guest on shows like Entrepreneur on Fire, Confessions of a Marketer, and School for Startups Radio. Our other presenter today is Jacob Grau. Jacob is an Amazon expert with a diverse background in e-commerce, marketplaces, Amazon partnerships, and more. He started out his career with Uber Corporate, doing partnerships and photography for the Uber Eats project. Later, Jacob joined one Amazon agency with hundreds of clients, where he helped implement strategies, best practices, and the training of employees as the agency scaled. Then he worked for a 3PL teaching their B2B brands about DTC e-commerce, a DTC supplement company, and a DTC fragrance company, where he led their Amazon marketing channel. Jacob has a history of growing brands by leading them with data-driven decisions. Jacob has consulted many online for many categories, from dog harnesses to candles. His love of data has driven his passion for e-commerce and Amazon. Now he has a role as partner at Proventus Agency, where he oversees 16 employees and 60 plus clients. He loves photography, which he's done professionally for close to a decade, music, videography, and his family and his 2 dogs. I will rejoin you at the end for the Q&A session, and it is now my pleasure to hand the mic over to Jacob. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks so much. Well, super excited to talk today about Amazon SEO. It's a passion I'm it's a subject I'm very passionate about. As you mentioned, I'm very data driven, so I love being able to really dive deep into these strategies and talk about what we can do as sellers to be able to improve the experience of the consumer as well as help us sell more. So today we're just going to go over 3 points: quality SEO research, how we don't have to be limited by Amazon's character limits, as well as using ads to help our organic traffic. We all know the basics of Amazon SEO. You find your keywords to target, whether that's through Helium 10, Sellzone's tools, or Amazon Brand Analytics. And our Preventus actually have our own internal software to make sure we can fact check those tools as well. We add those words to our copy and our listing. We advertising on those keywords. And then also we use parentages to make sure that we are getting keyword width across all the different product extensions that we have. When we're launching a product, it's fairly straightforward. We're checking out our competitors, we're checking out the marketplace and trying to figure out opportunities where we can steal some market share. As we go into this launch, I highly recommend having a 1 keyword, 1 ad group, 1 campaign with 1 target. What this really does is help us get our relevancy score up on the keyword and help us drive those organic rankings up, organic traffic up, organic sales up, and our cost per click down. This can also be done very easily by adding an ASIN into an existing product through a parentage. Again, flavor, color, size, very, very easy for us to do, especially in the supplement category where you have a lot of potential brand extensions. Even just launching a new flavor of that whey protein can really help. I've seen that time and time again when launching supplement brands. For the identity of this client, using pepper here. So this example is using the keyword pure pepper in a 1 keyword per campaign strategy. Initially, the ACoS wasn't great, not a lot of social proof because this is a new ASIN, but we were able very quickly within a few months after we started getting reviews to the Amazon buying program through organic review generation, as well as this 1 keyword campaign really targeted the audience we wanted, helping us to reduce our ACoS substantially, as well as helping us raise to the top 3 organics, which led to a triple of sales. Really helps, especially when you're using that keyword isolation, because you can know exactly what top of search you're getting and exactly what rest of search you're getting. So you can understand, maybe I need to create a separate campaign with a lower bid, but a higher placement modifier to make sure I'm really driving home to that keyword's audience that I'm the product they should be paying for. For products that have been around a bit or not yet a top seller, you're going a little bit deeper and trying to figure out using Amazon Brand Analytics, Helium 10, Sellzone, what am I doing wrong, right? This product's been up there. We're not ranking on page 1 of the keywords we need. We need to start using some tools to figure out what we're making mistakes on. So we're figuring out what our competitors are doing versus what we are currently doing and figure out where our gaps are, where their gaps are, and how to fill in between. So we're able to see a list of potential customers and keyword distribution using Sellzone's Amazon Traffic Insights tool, which is a tool that we often get to use to make sure we know exactly where those weaknesses are. One thing I love about this tool and why we're presenting with this example is it shows us click share. There are many terms that don't show up on Amazon Brand Analytics, so we don't actually know the click share. And also, we can really learn, hey, this person's taking 5% more of the traffic share. Maybe I need to go after that competitor with some ASIN targeting. That way I can come through and take a little bit more. I think one thing that's important when we're doing some competitor research is not just to blindly target all of the keywords that they're going for. I've often seen sellers lose tens of thousands of dollars in advertising by taking just a huge assortment of a list and just dumping it into a campaign and seeing how things go. Make sure every keyword you're going after, you're relevant for, you're indexing for by having it in your copy, and you're making sure that it makes sense for a consumer to find you off of that keyword. Once we're into the keyword itself, we're trying to figure out what our competitors are gaining off of it here. So that's what we can see as in terms of total traffic. If we see a competitor is really dominating a keyword, maybe we need to do some additional ASIN targeting. We can now use that sponsored brand video placement on their product page. Make sure we can take a little bit back while we're using our keyword isolation campaign to make sure that we are helping ourselves rank on that keyword. As we go a little bit deeper here, one of the reasons I love the Amazon Traffic Insights tool is it can show me search engine results that I can't find often on my own. These are badges like Amazon Choice, recommended by Amazon, and also Amazon editorials. If I know that one of my competitors is running an Amazon editorial, one, I might need to go reach out to a editorial placement company and go get a placement myself, but also maybe they're going to get a little more traffic this month and month past, and I need to go a little more aggressive using sponsored display, sponsored products, and sponsored brand video to target their product page to make sure I'm taking a little bit back from the market share that they're gaining with that Amazon editorial. I also like to think through seasonality. I know certain products are pretty obvious, right? Swimming products are going to do really well during the summer and a little bit more poor, at least in the continent where it's winter. And so if I know a keyword, if my top keywords are going down in traffic in Q3, for example, maybe I need to look off of Amazon, get a little bit more ad spend pumping in. That way, when my competitors are resting on their laurels because they say, oh, the category is just not good at this time of year, I can grab just a little bit of market share. That way, when I'm back to my hot time of the year, I'm really dominating. In addition, I think it's important to constantly look for on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly cadence, what are we not indexing for? So what's not in our copy that needs to be? There are obvious things that can't be in there, like trademarked brand names of our competitors, but maybe misspellings or something we can put in our search term field. Or if it's a keyword that's relevant, maybe we need to add it in phrase form into our copy and go after it aggressively. And if I'm not on page one on a product, I want to make sure that I get there by having it in phrase form my copy and pushing it aggressively in pay-per-click. Plenty of tools to help us identify this: Helium 10, Sellzone. Even Amazon brought back that search term analyzer tool to figure out what we index for that's in our search terms. Again, we're just trying to identify our gaps and weaknesses, figure out what our competitors aren't doing, and go after those strike zone keywords where I really, really need to get onto page one. So an example here of keywords that we're not indexing for, or maybe our competitors are not indexed for, it's important to see this list and figure out, okay, my top competitor in terms of relevancy to my own customers is not going after this term. If this term makes sense for me, maybe I need to go and double down on it so that way for those lower cost per click, because my top competitor is not there, I can dominate that new search term. When I have a top selling ASIN, my mindset changes a little bit. I'm thinking a little bit less of on Amazon SEO, and I'm thinking a little bit bigger picture, going up the funnel, even sometimes all the way to the top of funnel. This is where I'm leaning more on Google and Bing SEO, where I'm having a backlink strategy, where I'm running Google, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit ads over, and I'm trying to work with publications, influencers, things that can really help me show this page with thousands of reviews, all of these Amazon Choice badges. I get to show a brand new customer this, say, hey, here's all this social proof. I know you should convert. And it's really, really helpful to think about this, especially with any CPG products that are consumable, because I want to continually to get that new to brand traffic share rather than just sitting there at top of my subcategory, knowing that, oh, well, I guess as the category grows, I grow. We want to be aggressive and continually be on the front to acquire new customers. It's important to pay attention to Google and Bing as well. Sellzone has a tool that's will show us both referral traffic and Google organic traffic. I think this is really awesome. I haven't seen this before outside of this software, but it can show us where our competitors are not getting traffic, where we're getting traffic from, can help influence our DSP strategy, can help influence our Google AdWords strategy, both on our .com and on Amazon. I also think it's important to know where that referral traffic is coming from. Again, we can use this in Amazon DSP. We can use this on our non-Amazon platforms. And also, as we're sending traffic to Amazon and it's converting, it's really going to show Amazon that we are a player, not even in our subcategory, but in the entire category as a whole. I've often seen gift guides be a really good example of referral traffic that can ignite even a top selling listing to a whole new level. You'll see that a lot in Q4, a lot of publications posting about that. And what we're trying to do is reach out to those publications, send them gift baskets, become friends with them. That way, when they're making those gift guides, we can really, really reach a brand new audience. I love going after product extensions, as I mentioned a few times, and influencers. Amazon Live has become more and more important to being able to be successful as a brand. You can use Amazon posts to get those followers and then go live as the brand so you can engage those followers, or you can work with influencers that are building their own following there. Ultimately, our goal is to drive traffic to Amazon, right? If we're banned on Amazon pay-per-click, it's very likely our competitors are as well. Weight loss products, adult products like testosterone, we have to really get creative. This is when we're working more with those influencers, more with paid media. I've specifically seen a lot of success from going Reddit to Amazon. We know our competitors aren't getting extra traffic on Amazon. We want to get a leg up, and this is a way to do so. Luckily for most of us, we're not worried about that. We're focused on the on Amazon and off Amazon, including Amazon pay-per-click strategies. We've talked a lot here about your on and off Amazon SEO strategy. It really comes down to sending traffic to your listing by any means possible. As long as it's converting, Amazon's going to like you. Now, we're going to have Robin go a little deeper into harvesting keywords.
Thank you, Jacob. I'm really excited. I know it'll just take a second for the video to get transferred over. Awesome. This is me before coffee, so just bear with me. I talk quickly, but I know you guys can handle it because you're all advanced sellers. So it can be really easy to just think, oh, this keyword research is only so much that we can be doing. We know that people are primarily finding products through search on Amazon. And so with having those keywords and really thinking about keywords as those indexed keyword phrases as doors can help us make sure that we're maximizing our overall sales potential. So as we're doing our keyword research, one thing that I've seen is I've audited accounts, and these are, big publicly traded companies and, early revenue companies, is that sometimes we just rely really heavily on those reverse ASIN search tools. And there's lots of tools that do that. I know that Sellzone has a reverse ASIN search tool that's part of their suite, but there's lots of other tools that do the same thing. And while they are really fundamental to you having success on Amazon and being able to access those doors, we want to also think a little bit beyond that. Because what happens is sometimes we rely on our competitors to make sure that they've gotten all of those keywords, when in reality, they might have missed some of the keywords that would be the easiest access for us to rank, for us to get better traction on our ads. And so when we get lazy and we only do reverse ASIN search, because it is so much faster, especially with a large product mix, we can miss out on potential opportunities, not only on the organic, but also on the paid. So for many times I see people start at step 3 now. When they're looking at kind of this layered keyword approach, they start right at the reverse ASIN search, and then they might add a couple words in. I really recommend we go back to that 2015 strategy and still utilize it because of a couple things. Sometimes our product will have a use case that our competitors that they don't. And so we can utilize that different keyword profile to bring in entirely new traffic that is less competitive, and then expanding those things out, making sure that we really fleshed out the synonyms and all of those pieces. Now, you might think this is kind of basic. This is minivan kind of stuff. I come to Prosper for the Lamborghini stuff. And that's true. And that's why I attend conferences like this, because I want to see what's new, what's innovative, what's going to put me to the top. But this minivan will still get you where you need to go. And in reality, we use this on even big publicly traded companies. We have a company, retail stores across the U.S., $40 million in revenue in 2020 across their distribution channels. They had their Amazon listings already up on Amazon. They were managed by an agency. So it's not like we just put some shell listings up and, because the demand, we're able to get some good sales. We worked with them in the first year. We increased their sales 118% year over year. Their tacos only fluctuated between 8 and 10% during this growth. And they used this top line revenue, this big amount of revenue that to their top line to help work to get another investment round, which netted $40 million to the company. So even on large companies, and we know that some of these techniques can work as we're young and scrappy and launching private labels, but even for very large companies, these techniques are still yielding significant results. Now, before I get into this, I want to talk a little bit about keyword profiles because it's really important that we think about them really clearly. Sometimes people will pick on those reverse ASIN searches. They're going to pick products that they feel are pretty relevant, and even though they are relevant, they're similar. So we have a Chewbacca Star Wars shirt and a Ahsoka Tano Star Wars shirt. Yes, they're both shirts. Yes, they're both Star Wars, but they're different parts of the franchise. They have different fan bases, different demographic, different psychographics. So if you find in your reverse ASIN searches, you're getting a lot of things that just don't work for your listing. It's really garbage in, garbage out. So you have to really think about what are the keyword profiles. So like this shirt has the keyword profile of a t-shirt. It has a keyword profile of Star Wars, and it also has the keyword profiles that go along with the original trilogy. So when we're looking at finding these keywords, these are screenshots of Sellzone. Of course, you can use lots of other different tools. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's a little different in Sellzone that I like that, and sometimes I actually do like to go between tools and get an idea of what each tool is presenting to make sure I'm maximizing and not missing out on anything. Of course, you want to be looking at, one thing I like about Sellzone is I can look at match types and filter by match types, which is something a little bit more unique. And then also they have these related keywords. So at first I thought they would just be like misspellings, but the other thing that I like about them is they actually take a look at like this keyword has this profile and like compare that to the SERPs, and then they kind of look and find out which other words are related based off of the SERPs in the top ranking. So it can help me kind of pull out some keywords that I might have missed. Then I put those back in like the original like keyword wizard, the traditional like 2015 keyword tools. And what I do is then I flesh those out, and sometimes those are better avenues for me to really focus on the organic traffic. So you can, and then it's important whatever tool you're using that you're looking at filtering by volume, and then also looking at competitors. We want, sometimes the keyword is relevant, but because it has low volume, it's not as valuable to us, or because it's got high competition, it could still even be a really valuable keyword. But especially if you have a wide product mix with a limited ad budget, sometimes it doesn't make sense to go after those words until you have more proof of concept in reviews and sales conversion history on Amazon. And then, so the other thing that you can do is you should be sorting by volume. One of the big mistakes that I see people make is they focus on words that have the highest volume instead of focusing on the words that are the most relevant. We really want to focus on relevancy over everything else, because that relevancy is going to bring in more highly qualified traffic. So yes, there might be more volume, more people behind a specific door that has this larger volume, but the customers behind them aren't looking for your product. And so it can be a big leakage in the way that you're running your marketing. So really be looking at relevancy over volume. Of course, we're going to consider volume, but it should be considered. Then you want to take all of these keywords. And one of the things that whatever tool you're looking at, you want to kind of include these frequency counts. So you can see here, they have kind of the number of times that things are that are being repeated. One of the things that our team really does is we look at kind of maximizing the most relevant ones with the highest frequency count. Once you've really fleshed out detailed keyword research, then what I'm doing then is I'm finding out which keywords are going to unlock the biggest number of keyword phrases. So it kind of gives me the best bang for my buck to make sure that we're maximizing all of the keywords, the phrases that we can that are going to bring in the most relevant traffic. Now, again, not all keywords are equal. So if you have irrelevant keywords, it used to be that we had so much space. We could just kind of put things in and see what sticks. But now we really need to think about buyer intent and relevancy in the way that we're looking at our ads. So when we want to think about those limited characters, what we want to think about is we have this finite resource. It's not the wide open space that it was 5 years ago. So we need to be more strategic and more thoughtful in the exact ways that we're deciding which keywords need to be in our listing on the front end and on the back end. And those ad budgets, they don't stretch as far as they used to because CPCs are rising very quickly. And one thing that I have seen a couple of accounts that we've audited, it's not that they're doing anything quote unquote wrong. Their campaign structure is correct. They've done good keyword harvesting, but because they haven't really strategically looked at how they're going to narrow down the keyword profiles to fit their advertising budget, they spread it out so thin that they're not getting any traction. Sometimes it's better to be laser focused on fewer keywords than trying to make everything work. And we want to take those things that we learn from our ads and really integrate them back. So we want to make sure we are using a strategic process. We're really looking at what keywords need to happen. And a big part of that for us is looking at psychographics. If you haven't dug into psychographics, especially if you have like a marketing brain, if you have like a PPC brain, you're going to be blah, blah, blah. But if you have a marketing brain, psychographics are amazing, and they can really help you identify, okay, this is the buyer intent, this is the customer avatar I have, and this is how I can make sure that I connect those customers. What we're kind of doing is we want to use the words that our customers are using to mimic, to make sure that we're able to communicate that, yes, we have a shared experience. We understand your use case. We understand you as a customer. And that's how customers can come to our products and say, okay, this brand really understands my use and I feel safe and confident in this being the solution to my problems. So demographics are how old they are, how much money they make. Psychographics are what sports are they into, what kind of things are they passionate about, what causes are they interested in. And we can integrate these not only into our title, but especially into our images to make sure that we're approaching this with kind of an aspirational thing, that the kitchen that our garlic salt is in is aspirational, but not out of reach for our target customer. So once you integrate your keywords, the other place where I see people make mistakes is of course, we want to put our most important keywords in our title and bullets. That's of course going to be really, really important. But then they go straight to the back end search terms right after that. If you haven't really been delving into the flat files, find the depth, the core of your nerdiness and get into those flat files. There are a lot more attributes that you can put in. And a lot of these attributes are actually surfacing on the front of the product detail page. Now, this can be good and bad. If you've been keyword spamming in there, it's bad because it makes your listing look bad. But if you are really utilizing that space to maximize your overall number of keywords, it can be great because it can highlight additional features. It can give you additional places to index, and then take the words that still were not utilized and then use those in the back-end search terms. Some really highly commoditized products, the ability to add 2 or 3 more ads or 2 or 3 more keywords into those back-end search terms can make a huge difference in overall conversion and traffic. So really, the time it takes to do this is well worth it. And because a lot of people just are overwhelmed with flat files, we find that this is a step that's most often missed. And so it can be a real place for us to get a foothold, even in competitive markets. The other thing is we want to trust but verify. Yes, you did your keyword research. Yes, I'm sure you did a great job. But sometimes even well-established brands will get their customer avatar wrong. So after you've been running ads for a little bit, you have to give it enough time to really get clear data. But after you've been running those ads, go back and look, and were the keywords that you expected really generating the sales? If not, we need to go back and rewrite the listing so we're highlighting the things that are bringing in the most traffic. This can help us identify if our customer avatar was incorrect, and it can also help us indicate, when we need to switch our marketing techniques and maybe even switch up our ad budgets a little bit more. And you can take this and use this outside of Amazon too. Use this and get this to your Google SEO people and make sure that they're integrating these keywords and these buyer intents that are causing conversions across all of your channels. So we want to maximize the number of keywords. This is obvious. This is something that this is like beyond the minivan kind of like basic thing. We have to maximize the number of keywords because it maximizes the number of customers that we're going to have access to. But we have two balancing and competing goals. As you're writing your copy, your title, your bullets, we want to make sure that, yes, we're including those keywords, but most importantly, that we're writing copy that will really convert and answer the questions that our customers are having. So this means looking at reviews, looking at questions. I had a potential client come and say, look at all the questions we have on our listing. Isn't that great? And no, that's not great, because that means that customer wanted to buy your product so badly that they were willing to take the time to write that customer question in, but because they needed to have that question answered before they could purchase. If you have a lot of questions on your listing, that means you have not done an adequate job in the title and bullets to make sure that the customer has everything that they need in order to ensure purchase. And you might say, well, Robin, they're saying that they don't know the size, and it's very clear in the bullets that what the size is. Have you mirrored that in the bullets? Have you added more detail in the A+ content to clarify that? If you're still getting that question, it means the messaging is still not clear to your target. If you're listing, sometimes people will say, well, I've done everything you've said and my listing is still not selling. I wrote an article on Sellzone that goes through all of these things. And sometimes it does come down to nobody wants your product. There's not enough demand for your product. You haven't identified the keywords that are really going to bring in potential customers. And that's really the biggest issue. So remember, we know Amazon prioritizes conversion. And so in that, we want to think about advertising. We all know that advertising provides a halo on Amazon. And so we want to take that listing optimization. That is just step one. If your listing is not selling, now we need to go to advertising, clippable coupons, generate those conversions. Those generate reviews, which helps increase proof of concept and trust in your product, which we can now take that data, re-optimize the listing to incorporate those things, and then continue to that flywheel kind of cycle. We want to incentivize those purchases. So using clippable coupons, I still see a lot of brands not using them. Sometimes you don't have the margin, and that's 100% okay. But clippable coupons can be a really powerful way to help you increase click-through rate and conversion, because they show in the SERP, they show in the ads and on the product detail page. And especially on holidays when people are looking for a sale like Black Friday, they can give people the excuse who are on the fence to make that purchase. And then lightning deals are now up to 12 hours. So there's some products, especially products like the Roomba kind of products, where people are looking for an excuse. These can be really great. And people have talked about using promotional coupons for years, so I don't think we need to go too far into that. The other thing with ads is we want to think beyond short-term ROAS. Sometimes people get so focused on the ROI today that we forget that there can be a strategy that happens and unfolds over a longer period of time. We have still been using and implementing keyword ranking campaigns, and they've been really successful. Of course, on highly commoditized or really competitive keywords, these can be difficult. But on some products that maybe have not hit that same level of competitiveness, these can be really, really powerful. So we're going to focus on sponsored products on a specific keyword, get that product to rank in the top 1 to 2 positions organically. Once we've been running those ads to keep it at that spot for 3 weeks, we pull back the ads to see if the product is actually sticking the landing and holding that position. So we did this for a product. It was in the garlic salt area, but I changed the name of the product and the keyword to kind of protect the brand's data. We really focused. The product wasn't indexed for this keyword. We got it indexed. It was on page 75 or whatever it was. And then what we did is we focused the sponsored products. The ROAS, as we ramped up these ads, dropped from $12.59 to $4 to $5 during the ranking campaign. As we pulled back, the ROAS rebounded to $11.57, but the organic sales doubled, and they maintained that as we returned the spend to the original amount. So it was a short-term expense where we had a lower return, but still profitable for a much longer-term benefit. And so this was something that really helped this. And in this process, this product also got a ton of reviews, which also helped as well. So when we're implementing these keyword ranking campaigns, we really need to be thinking about sponsored products specifically. Sponsored brands, of course, are going to help with overall sales conversion history. But because you're going primarily to that store page or that custom landing page and not to the product detail page through that keyword, sponsored products are going to be instrumental in making sure that those happen. Sometimes we have companies that maybe don't have the budget that they need in order to get, so maybe you really want PBX phone system, but maybe that's too competitive. The CPCs are just too high. Then start with PBX office phone system, a longer tail, more relevant keyword. Do this for that. Pull back, make sure your product is sticking the language for the more relevant, longer keyword phrase. If so, then launch the phase 2 where you're going to that shorter phase. And as you're identifying these keywords, we want to remember, some keywords are just going to be overly broad. And so we want to really think about, is it really worth the marketing dollar to focus on these overly broad keywords when we could take that same budget and maybe get 10 more highly relevant longer tail keywords that would bring in the same amount of traffic and a higher percentage of conversions. Amazon, Sellzone's got some PPC Optimizer tool that's coming out, and they're going to be this rolling out that's really great. And if you didn't know about Sellzone, actually the people who behind it are Semrush, and Semrush is got this amazing pool of data from Google. They've been working in they're kind of the leading industry in that. So that's what kind of made me excited about this. I mean, for the most part, I kind of think like, does the world really need another Amazon PPC tool? But when you think about this kind of the data and the experience with data analyzation that Semrush has that they're putting into Sellzone, that can be really exciting. The other thing that's about that is when we're looking at auditing accounts, for a long time it was really keyword, the strategy and the organization and structure of the campaigns was something that a lot of people really struggled with. We're seeing that clean up as people get more experience on Amazon, but one of the things that we're seeing that is still an issue is harvesting keywords on a regular basis, that those aren't happening for a lot of companies, even those that hire freelancers that are managing their PPC. And then we're not getting that second step of integrating that into the listing or into our external marketing to make sure that we're maximizing that the data that we paid for. And with these, one thing about with looking at traffic and externally, I think that a lot of times on Amazon, we only think about our ecosystem. And because that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter how our listing's doing on Google. It matters how our listing's doing on Amazon. So when Sellzone came to me and said they had this tool that could look at external Google traffic, I was kind of like, that's not important to us. We don't really think about that. And, for the most part, most companies I know, they don't want their listing on Amazon to rank well on Google. If that's the case, you can use this data that's in Sellzone, and what we've been doing is approaching those backlinks and asking if we can switch it to our website to kind of recapture that DTC traffic to our e-commerce site. The other thing is if you do want it to rank, then you can go look at your competitors and have those switch over, see if you can get them to switch over to you. So it can kind of help that. And then we have a couple of brands that are doing influencer marketing, and Amazon attribution, it can kind of be helpful. But especially some of those external links, like influencer posted this, and then somebody copycatted it, and that same content, and so now we have this external link. It can help us identify other potential influencers for our overall campaigns, and we can also do the same thing with our competitors to kind of help work together with the Google SEO teams to make sure that we're maximizing over multiple sales channels. So that's been something that has been really interesting as well. I think that's all my time here. I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about one thing I forgot to talk about was split testing and the power of split testing. We use that a lot, especially if you're trying to really narrow down these keywords to the exact piece that you need, or the exact keywords, and making sure you're strategically picking those right keywords. Sellzone does have a split testing tool, but there's also several others on the market. Split testing is really important in continuing to refine your message to get that incremental advantage over your competitors. But for real this time, that's all I have today. So I think we have some Q&A. I think Brian's going to come back on and lead that, if I'm correct.
Yes, we do. And fantastic presentation. We've got ample time for Q&A, 20 minutes here. And we have some good questions that have come in. I wanted to mention here up front, though, if people would like to know more about this topic, this actually came out of the seller panel, popular seller panel session at prospershow, examine sellers listings to learn. There's a recording for that's available. I will also mention that additional details about Sellzone specifically by Semrush are available in the PowerPoint that you can download as a PDF, and they will also, those 3 slides will also appear at the conclusion of this session. We got a great question here from Lisa. Thanks for submitting. We got some good questions for this, prequel at Prosper Show that I mentioned that session, and we've got some good ones here too. So Lisa is wondering, how do you make your products show up and stand out on the Lightning Deal page during Prime Days or key holidays? We often cannot even find our products.
So that can be tricky because Amazon doesn't give us a clear way to kind of promote that externally. So of course you can promote it on your internal channels, but if we're going to do that, we might as well direct it to our own site. And that's one of the reasons why I generally, if brand has a limited budget, we're generally going to pick clippable coupons versus the Lightning Deal, unless it's something that we feel like we could get to the top. Amazon's going to look at things that have like the bigger discount, and they're going to prioritize those. Remember, Amazon's capitalistic. They want money. So the more they think that your Lightning Deal is going to convert, the more they're going to highlight it. So it can be difficult to kind of spot them in the wild. So especially if you have stakeholders that need to see it, then I would focus on a bigger, more intense clippable coupon, especially if you have a product that's maybe not as, so like if you have laundry hangers, then, Lightning Deal, nobody's going to be like, oh man, I got to get up and I got to get those laundry hangers. But they will do that for a Roomba or something that they've really been wanting, an Aura ring, something along those lines. So really think about what is going to motivate your purchase if you're a customer. If your customer doesn't need that big discount as an excuse, spreading that budget over a longer period of clippable coupons can give you a better result, in my opinion. I'm sure that there's people that have opposite opinions as well.
Going a little deeper on that as well, if you are one of those lucky people that gets to work with Amazon Corporate's account managers, they can also get you placements that you couldn't get on your own. We've often worked with a lot of these team members in Seattle that come to us and say, hey, if you can give 35% off, I can get you a placement on your category page on Prime Day. So if you are able to work with one of those Amazon account managers, those placements are infinitely going to be more powerful than just setting up your own deal of the day, Prime Day exclusive discount on Prime Day type of thing.
Oh, great. Thank you. How are you incorporating misspellings into your listing or work to rank for them? Either of you can start with that one.
So, of course, we're going to put them in the back end. We never put them in the front end because that makes your listing look less professional. So you can put those in the back end, and you can also target them with advertising. When it comes down to, people will say, well, Amazon says they cover those misspellings, and they do 100%. If you spell receive, I before E, E before I, they will fix that. So you don't need to worry about that. That will handle itself. Where it gets tricky and where you really need to maximize is if you've put, if your kids play and you've added a Z in the middle of kids play, Amazon isn't going to intuitively know that that's a misspelling. So drastic misspellings where the computer would think that can't possibly be related to this keyword, or intentional clever misspellings, those are going to be where we're going to focus on the back end keywords. This is when search volume estimators can be really helpful to identify whether that's really worth your time and effort. Unless a word is misspelled quite often, or it's the only access to a heavily competitive keyword, we're not going to drive a ton of attention to it. But if there is if it's a common misspelling that maybe the computer is not going to identify, then that would be when we would really focus on it and amplify it with ads.
And going on, you can always think about other languages as well. So obviously you need your copy on your page to be in English because that's the native language of the marketplace. But if I know there's a large Hispanic population, maybe I need to include some alt text behind my A+ content in Spanish. Maybe I even need to use Spanish in my search terms. I think it's important to just remember exactly what your audience is. So if they're spelling it wrong because there's just a language barrier, then again, you're prioritizing that because they likely have a little bit of volume. In addition, don't forget about plurality of products. It used to be you need to go after every single plurality of that product, unless it's a drastic change from like moose to moosin, which it's a good Brian Regan joke there. If it's just the S, you're going to be able to index for both the singular and plural form. Yeah.
Good. And I'm glad you brought that up because I am curious about that. Going to other countries, if you're launching or already in Germany, or if you're already in another place, how do you what's a good way to find out how they might be talking about what phrases might be used or what words might be used beyond maybe just the literal translation, which oftentimes doesn't suffice?
So what I start with is that literal translation, right? Then I try to find a native speaker of that language and help me translate listings over. I not only copy over those English advertising campaigns. Amazon has some really great tools, especially in Europe, for moving marketplace to marketplace to marketplace. But you really need to work with a native speaker of, like, let's say Polish for Amazon Poland, right? I really need to make sure I'm targeting my English words for that English speaking population and the actual words that Polish people are using to go after. If you don't have a tool to help you understand what keywords are being used, I would type in your root keyword. So let's say pepper, right? And the translation of pepper in that language, and then let Amazon's results on that marketplace show you exactly what is there. So if I'm going to Amazon Spain, I need to translate that word, put it in the search, and see exactly what those suggestions are from Amazon, because that's a good indicator of what has the most volume for that root keyword.
I have a slightly different strategy, and we don't do a literal translation like a Google Translate at all. We're going to start by doing the keyword research from scratch in a keyword research tool that focuses on that marketplace. And we're going to do that with hiring a professional translation service. And that's even to go into the UK. If you think about the different, like, sometimes those little words make a big difference. And yes, your product still might be identifiable with a literal translation or with an American version in the UK, but the wording is just going to be it's just going to feel a little off. And if you think about when you go to a listing and you just get this feeling like, I think this is a Chinese seller, or I think this is somebody from another country, because the words just aren't quite right, it makes you distrustful of the product. So, as an agency, it can be tempting to save the money and not use an official certified translation service. But in the long run, you're going to get a better conversion and a better client happiness level. So we really recommend that you use that. And then, of course, then go back in and double check the keyword after you're done, because sometimes they will have missed keywords. And then also sometimes there'll be additional keywords that maybe didn't come up that you need to redo that keyword research to kind of expand off of that particular use case or verbiage to kind of build off of that.
And always check out the reviews from that marketplace. So Amazon has had an interesting year with international reviews. They've taken them off and only counted in global ratings, but now they're back to having global reviews on ASINs. And you can see reviews by marketplace, right? So if I have Amazon Exporter turned on my FBA listing, it's sellable in other countries. They just have to pay those duties and taxes, and they can often leave reviews in another language. And so I can read those and try to understand their feedback, again, using a professional translator to make sure I'm fully comprehending the words that they're saying, to make sure I get the feedback of, hey, maybe it took an extra month to ship there because of shipping time, and the quality was reduced because of it, and I had to plan accordingly.
Great, thank you. And is that same kind of step or process should be taken into account when you're considering there are 50 dialects and are in the United States? One of them is a city, Pittsburgh, where I grew up near. And so if I wanted to search for something growing up and I didn't know any better, when I was 18, I may have searched for gum bands instead of rubber bands. I called them lightning bugs. So if I wanted a firefly jar, I would have searched for a lightning bug jar. I'm just curious to know how much is that costing if that's not being accounted for in keywords, or is it marginal? What strategy do you have to prioritize which dialects you're going to hit?
Depending on the volume behind it, and kind of like, so if you have like a vernacular that's only used in Los Angeles, and you're selling a product where the psychographic makeup of that customer is primarily in the South conservative, then you're not, a lot of your target customer might not be there. So even if that keyword is relevant, it might not have a lot of volume. But let's just take like an oversimplified one, and let's look at like baking dish. And I grew up in California. We were always called them baking dishes, but my mother mother-in-law is from North Dakota, and I asked her where her baking dishes were, and she's like, what do you mean baking dishes? And my husband was like, oh, your casserole dishes, Mom. So sometimes you can miss out on a really big market. And, you might be in LA thinking about these as baking dishes, but the people that use them for every meal practically are calling them casserole dishes. So this is when going through, and sometimes, especially if there's a product where there is that big vernacular like discrepancy, we'll go into forums, or we'll go, even just if you want to simplify it, go into the reviews, copy and paste all of the reviews, just have a VA do this, put it into a frequency counter, and then look at the words and just scan for and look for vernaculars. Then take that and put that into your keyword tool, and then expand those out. So remember I talked about that 2015 technology still works. This is kind of one of those instances.
Yeah. And incidentally, in Minnesota and Wisconsin, they're called hot dishes.
Yes. Hot dishes, like you don't think of a salad as having marshmallows, but in my mother-in-law's world, all salads had marshmallows. I feel.
Of course. We had a good presentation on that topic called Lost in Translation, as in losing sales in translation. Yana Krechik did it at prospershow. I encourage anybody to check that out. We also had a good presentation, a good panel talking about keywords related to safety and getting suspended. And we have a question, getting to the question that was asked about this. My listing keeps getting flagged as a pesticide, but it is clearly not a pesticide. I am so frustrated to have you run into this. It was, I believe, Rachel Greer at the Prosper Show who brought up, or maybe it was Cynthia Stein, when she was aware of someone getting suspended because they used the word butterfly in their listing. And it was that got it flagged. How do you know what to be wary of beyond just the popularity of search terms?
So we've dealt with this a lot, because we've actually dealt with a lot of products that are very tangentially related to pesticides, but not actually pesticides. And so we had to build a literal list of words that got us flagged every time. So we'd go in and delete word by word and word until that claim was gone, and got an Amazon rep to 100% approve the copy. If anyone needs that, I do have that list and provide it. But it really comes down to making sure any type of claim that would possibly deal with pesticides. And it's not just a, hey, look, here's a bug, let's kill the bug. It's a hypoallergenic pillow, for example, got flagged for us because of that word hypoallergenic, which is a beautiful word to me, as I have poodles and I'm allergic to dogs, but I can't use that on selling a pillow because it got flagged. It's actually how we ended up creating this list, because we had to go word by word by word by word for that product.
And on top of that, so sometimes those keywords are important to your listing, and you need to have them in the listing. And so the first step is, okay, step one is identify those keywords. So anything that's going to discourage bacteria, small organisms, pests. So even if you say my insect resistant cedar wood, because it's deterring a pest, it's going to get flagged. So anything that's going to kill or deter anything small, that's going to generally be like where your foundational pieces are for those keywords that are going to get flagged. The next step is, do I really need this in, or was I just adding it because it was another keyword, or it was a little bit of fluff that I thought would be good? If it's important for your customer to know this, then you need to deal with things the right way and make sure that you get the approval if needed. And then as you're building out that listing, be sure to fill out that pesticide area. We've seen sometimes that resolving it, saying, yes, I did use this word, but it is not a pesticide. And if you have an account manager and you are sure that your product is not a pesticide and not you've gone through the APA documentation, you're really sure, then they can escalate that. The negative potential to that is if they escalate it, and if it's determined that you are a pesticide, then now the scrutiny is going to be higher. So you want to be thinking about all of those pieces. And is this keyword really instrumental for our customers to make a buying decision, or was I just putting it in there because I wanted one more upsell?
We have time for one more question, and we need to be a little bit brief on this one. By the way, Jerry, thank you for that last question. I want to distribute this one to Ari. Can I use video ads to drive keyword ranking campaigns?
Not specifically, because they're sponsored brands and they're, a lot of those video ads now are linking directly to the store page. And so, we're kind of trying to mimic what people were doing with the super URL without doing the super URL. Yeah. So it will make a difference. So somebody's going to say, well, I do it and it works. And yes, it does, because you are getting sales conversion history. So it's helping kind of that overall lift. But if you're looking specifically on driving a keyword ranking campaign, and that's all we're looking at in this window, then I would say we need to focus on sponsored products. Sponsored video, I really focus on for new to category. There's so much opportunity right now. But, it's not going to make a direct impact on the specific keyword, just an overall rising of the boat.
I did say one more question, but I just wanted to make an observation. We got a few questions here, wondering how to access the pesticide verbiage list from Jacob. Jacob, do they follow up with you afterwards to ask about that? I don't know if that's proprietary, but since there are 3 comments in here asking about it.
Yeah, feel free to possibly leave a comment on our website, preventisagency.com, and I can just send you the list. It's very, very helpful and has saved us a lot of time.
And I'll tell you what, why don't I ask for that, and I'll make sure we post it as a resource right here. Awesome. At the end of this recording. That'd be a great thing to be able to provide, if that's okay with you, Jacob, and we can talk about it later if you like. So thank you. That's all the time we have for questions. Robin and Jacob, thanks for an amazing presentation. Great answers to the questions. Your experience and expertise really shines through. I love that you went from a seller to helping others who were selling, as you've done very successfully today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Sure. I also want to thank everyone who participated in the session. Please take time to complete the evaluation. You'll see it upon the conclusion. As a reminder, you can access the slide decks and recordings of all Prosper Remix live sessions, and as well all the slide decks from the recorded sessions from Prosper Show, and until November 18th, that is. This session, actually, I didn't mention it specifically, but I referred to it earlier, sprouted out of the success of the seller panel that Bradley Sutton moderated, Examine Sellers Listings to Learn at Prosper Show. If you want to learn more, as I said, you should check that out. And if you want to learn more about other topics, we've got a great one coming up here at 1 p.m. If you attended any of the sessions in Prosper Show in the Protect Your Business track, this year or related sessions in previous years, you'll know the name Chris McCabe, Rachel Johnson-Greer, and Cynthia Stein. We're bringing them all together on the same panel to talk about countering black hat attacks and other TOS challenges here at 1:30. The final session today is also by one of the popular speakers that was in high demand. At 2:30 today, Ritu Java will present and expand upon her Prosper Show co-presentation, going solo this time, presenting on leveraging full funnel advertising with sponsored ads and Amazon DSP. I also wanted to make sure you know that I mentioned Prosper Show a few times. I also want to mention Prosper Show 2022 one time here. We have the date set. We hope to be seeing you there. Prosper, I will also be posting something here in the message box. Very generously, Semrush has offered to give $100 off a 3-month trial subscription. Subscription to anyone attending this. It's in the message box as we speak. If you want to find the link and take advantage of that, you can see what that's about. If after 3 months you like it, maybe you stick with them as a member, as a user. And I wanted to also make sure to wish you all have a prosperous day. We will see you digitally back here at 1 p.m. Thank you. Stay tuned for a few slides about Sellzone that will be displayed but not presented.